Hey, and welcome back to Game Talk. I'm your host, Evan Mion. Today I'm joined by Connor
Hey guys.
and Mike.
Hello.
And today I think we're going to do another ranking of sorts. These are actually my personal favorite episodes. I always enjoy hearing your guys' top 5 of whatever and, sort of just discussing those. And today we're going to do another console ranking. So we're going to go through our top 5 PlayStation 3 games. And I think this one's interesting in the fact that I think PS3 really was sort of like a turning point for Sony, right? I would argue that like the first half of the PS3 generation was Sony at its lowest point. And then I think the games that came out on the tail end of the generation sort of define what the company is even to this day, I would argue. So
Yeah, I agree with that. The PS3 was a weird one because when you picked it, I was like, man, I'm not really a PlayStation guy. Can I do that? But then I remembered like I had a PS3 in middle school and I was super into it. Like,
Yeah, it's a little strange for me because like obviously, I have some third-party games on this list, but most of my third-party gaming was on Xbox 360. So a lot of the games that would potentially be on this list had I played them on PS3 are not on this list because I played them on 360. So that's just a sort of interesting note before we kick things off here.
That's interesting because I have some third-party games that I first played on PS3 and then later finished on PC, but I feel like the PS3 still earned those games,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, because I did kind of not like playing on my PS3 as much as I did my PC. Hey, that may surprise you, but
No, I didn't really like playing on my PS3 either. Like I played everything on 360. It's only when, some of the exclusives I really became partial to started coming out that I sort of switched to PlayStation and never looked back.
mm.
But yeah, why don't we kick things off? I think so before we get started, are we all doing in order or just, hodgepodge?
Mine's in no particular order.
My final one is my best of the generation, but
Okay.
other than that, it's basically no particular order.
I will be going in order from my number 5 to my number 1. But before we get into that, I want to go through some honorable mentions, and then I'll hand it over to you guys, and you guys can talk to your honorable mentions as well. My first honorable mention is Uncharted 3: Drake's Deception. Now, I've stated my love for the Uncharted series multiple times, and just due to the fact that I didn't want this list to be full of Uncharted, there's only one Uncharted game on my list, and I'm sure you guys could guess what it is. But I definitely wanted to shout out Uncharted 3. Still have great memories of that game. Showing that game to friends and being like, oh my god, this is so cinematic and stuff like that. Especially the part where like Drake jumps out of the plane and grabs the parachute.
Yeah. That's such. I have shown so many people that scene. Because that scene seriously made me like that scene made me think like, why do we even have cutscenes anymore? Like.
Yeah, that scene was a total adrenaline rush. Like my jaw was on the floor.
I still don't think I've played a scene in a game that can even be compared to that one.
Yeah, I don't want to argue against that. That's
even in Uncharted 4, which I liked quite a bit.
Yeah, Uncharted 4, I think though was it intentionally sort of pared back, and some people didn't like that, but I thought they did it quite well. But yeah, moving on to my next honorable mention, God of War 3. God of War 3 was actually my first God of War game. So I played it without really context of the first 2 games, and I just loved it for the sheer spectacle of it. Like I remember showing this, like I remember inviting a bunch of friends over and playing the intro of the game where you basically, fight and kill Poseidon. And he was just like, he walks into my room and he's like, okay, what movie are we watching? I was like, dude, this is a video game. And he just couldn't believe it, right? Because the intro to God of War 3, I would still argue, is the most insane intro to a video game I've ever played, I would say, probably. Like, you guys know what I'm talking about?
No, I've never played any God of War game.
Okay, yeah. Like, the intro to God of War 3 is absolutely insane. There's like a army of titans, which are like giant, colossal, deity creatures, versus the Greek pantheon, like Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, etc. And it's just like balls to the wall, insane action to kick off God of War 3. And that's sort of why it's on my list. Like, the rest of the game is great, but that intro is just something else. Okay, next honorable mention is Journey. Journey, I feel like, is the first indie game that I played that really sort of made me sit back and go, wow, these, like, games can come in any shape or form or size and still be incredible experiences. Journey is only like a 1.5 hour, maybe 2 if you really push it, hour experience, but it is such a special and precious experience, I think. And I think it did things with asynchronous multiplayer that were very innovative at the time. And, all of that coupled with the beautiful score, it was just such a moving experience. Okay, next, Little Big Planet. So Little Big Planet,
lowest?
Obviously,
or that's an honorable mention?
Yeah, honorable mention for me. Little Big Planet for me was a very fun, platformer / level creation tool. And I thought, it was very innovative in what it did. But personally, to me, I wouldn't put it in my top 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
What, is that your number 1 or something?
We'll find out, won't we?
And then my final honorable mention is Infamous 2. So I really enjoyed the Infamous series, especially Infamous 2, I think is my favorite Infamous game, even counting the PlayStation 4 entry. I think that game really sort of solidified what a superhero game should be back when we really didn't get too many superhero games. Obviously now we have like the gold standards like the Batman Arkham series and Spider-Man on PlayStation 4. But like as far as an original IP superhero game goes, Infamous was really quite special to me. And those are my honorable mentions. Connor, you want to do yours?
I don't have any honorable mentions. I just have my 5. I didn't have time to prepare for this.
Okay. Mike, do you have any?
I don't have any honorable mentions.
Wow.
I mean, I guess I'll honorable mention Call of Duty Black Ops because it was the only Call of Duty game I ever bought, and I played it some, and it like was part of my PS3 experience. But I don't like it, and I'm never gonna play it again.
Then it shouldn't be on your honorable mention list.
I didn't play that many PS3 games. I like the PS3. I love the games I played, but I really didn't play that many, and that was an important one, just not one I enjoyed that much.
Okay. So my number 5 is Dragon Age Origins. So this is a multi-platform game. I played it on PS3. And this was my, I think, first BioWare game. So I played this before any Mass Effect or anything. Obviously, I didn't play BioWare's older titles because I had garbage taste when I was younger. But this game really sort of turned me on to the concept of like a deep, lengthy BioWare RPG. And I've played it and replayed it countless times. And I remember this game being a staple amongst like my high school friends. Like we'd always talk about like this game, the different choices we made, the different characters we interacted with, and like all these different things. And I don't know, it's still to this day, this game holds a special place in my heart. I can recall sections of it vividly. I remember going into the Fade, and I remember, fighting the Archdemon, all these generic sounding fantasy things, but at the time, like I thought it was a pretty special experience. Have either of you tried playing Dragon Age? Gotten into the series at all?
No. Actually, have I tried it? Yes. I got it for free on Origin, I think. And didn't care for it. I played about an hour and
I love Dragon Age Origins.
Was not interested. I don't really care for BioWare RPGs. They're just not really to my tastes.
Mike, you said you played it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I thought, like, especially at the time, like, I feel like if I had played Mass Effect first, then maybe it wouldn't have hit me as strongly, but, like, this was my first BioWare RPG, and I was just completely enthralled by it. So that's my number 5. Connor?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna open with see, mine are in no particular order, and this is a game that I like a whole lot, but I'm saying it first because PlayStation 3 is only where I first played it, not really where it hit its stride for me. But Dark Souls, that my first Dark Souls experience was on PS3, and that's one of my favorite games of all time. But it's not one of my favorite PS3 games of all time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So obviously, we've talked about Dark Souls on the podcast before. It's amazing. It's a masterpiece. It's best experienced on PC or the remasters on future consoles.
Yeah, especially, I think back to like Blighttown on console, and it was just a miserable experience, getting like sub 20 FPS.
Yeah, I never actually got that far on my PS3.
Lucky you.
Yeah, so I didn't get very far into the game at all. I was not great at it, is the thing. Because I was pretty young. What was that, 2011? So yeah, didn't do great, but I did love it.
Yeah, you've always said the favorite part of the Souls games to you was the world and the lore, right?
Yeah, and Dark Souls 1 is the only one that world-wise, the lore was great in all of them, I think, even Dark Souls 2. But I think they only really got the world right in Dark Souls 1.
I would argue Dark Souls 1 and Bloodborne have the best world.
I still haven't made it far enough into Bloodborne to tell you, but one of these days.
Yeah, I that's kind of surprising me, Connor. I think you'd really, really like Bloodborne if you went through it.
I just have to buckle down. Souls games, you really have to buckle down and be ready to really get into them, and I haven't.
That's not a game you can play casually at all. You're gonna be anxiety ridden the whole time. Okay, Mike.
So my first game on the list is actually Little Big Planet 2. I feel like Little Big Planet got snubbed, although it was the weaker of the series because 2 was really good.
I mean 2 was just Little Big Planet but better.
It took everything that made Little Big Planet good.
There's one thing that Little Big Planet do. The smallest thing about Little Big Planet 2 that was in Little Big Planet 1, you had to buy the Pirates of the Caribbean DLC or something in Little Big Planet 1 to get water, which is such an important feature to lock behind a DLC.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always remember the Little Big Planet games just being laden with obscene amounts of not just DLC but costumes and cosmetics and stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean it was the perfect playground for them.
Yeah.
And I never thought that you needed any of them to enjoy the game, but I had the Pirates of the Caribbean one because I wanted that water.
And I think Little Big Planet 2 was the apex of the franchise, right?
Yeah, that was
a lot of people.
Well, Little Big Planet Vita was pretty good. Little Big Planet Vita came out. The series was kind of dead by the time it came out, dead or dying. But it was just Little Big Planet 2 on the go with a couple touchscreen gimmicks. I really liked it.
Yeah. Little Big Planet 2 was the peak. Largely because it added all the features that we know and love, and it allowed game creation to be a lot deeper with its logic.
Yeah, that's an interesting. Did you guys ever make levels and stuff?
I did.
Because I always just played it. I never actually got into the creation aspect of it.
I made some levels. I liked doing minor changes to other people sometimes. I love Little Big Planet.
Yeah, I loved the game. A lot of fun. Had a lot of good memories of playing it. So it definitely takes a place on my list. That and some of the mechanics of the game were just great.
Yeah, and in defense of my comment earlier, Connor, there's a lot of PS3 games I hold dear, and Little Big Planet just barely didn't make the list. But if this was a top 10 list, it would certainly be on there.
Yeah.
Okay. I can move on to my number 4. Oh. So my number 4 favorite PlayStation 3 game is The Last of Us. So
I did not expect it to be that low on your list.
So I've, everyone knows how I love The Last of Us series. This game, Naughty Dog really sort of came in and just set the groundwork for what narratives could be in video games. But I will say though, I have said on this podcast before, I really, really like The Last of Us. It didn't blow me away the way The Last of Us Part 2 did. So it's not my favorite PS3 game, but it's definitely up there. And I still remember, 2013, I think, is when I got this game, and just marathoning it, and just sort of, I feel like maybe if I was older when I played this game, it'd be higher on my list. But at the age I was really into the story. But like, obviously, like I was more impressed at the time by like Nathan Drake and like that sort of, bombastic, high key storytelling as opposed to the very subtle stuff that happens in The Last of Us.
That's
But
super fair, yeah.
going back over the years and replaying it, like it still holds up completely. Granted, the gameplay isn't as strong as, when I first played it because it's aged, but like the story is still as great as it ever was, and so are the interactions between the characters, especially Ellie and Joel. So yeah, that's why it's number 4 on my list.
Yeah, that's fair.
I can see it.
It's a good game. I'll do my next game, I suppose. I gotta go Mod Nation Racers, I think. It was a game. It was another Media Molecule game. They're getting a lot of love on my list. But I don't know. It's something. A kart racer where you can make your own track was something that I feel like hasn't been attempted a whole lot, and I think they did a really good job, all considered. Like, I remember a ton of themed tracks and stuff. I don't actually think a ton of people played this game, though.
Yeah, it really didn't go big.
It's funny. So I've definitely heard of this game before, and when you bring it up, I get some images in my mind. But like, it's funny because like the whole like every franchise becomes a kart racer thing was definitely kind of like a product of the PS2 era, and you didn't really see that too much in the PS3 era.
Yeah.
But we did get something. I think we did get Little Big Planet karting, right?
Yeah. It was not until PS4 though.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Which is kinda. Yeah, I don't think Little Big Planet karting was on PS3. But I know Mod Nation Racers was well before Little Big Planet karting, and it was a fairly bold attempt to make a kart racer without already having an established IP,
Yeah, that's I don't think that's even doable, to be perfectly frank with you. Like, I don't think in terms of like financial success, I feel like that's not feasible.
It did not work for them. So
yeah.
There's that.
I remember like people are always jokingly like messaging Naughty Dog saying that they should make Uncarded, because they did make like Jack X, which was so goofy but also so much fun.
It's one of the only kart races I know it's canon.
Yeah, it was canon. That's wild too. Yeah, Mod Nation Racers. Well, I'm assuming there was online play, right?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
That was why. So they made a Mod Nation Racers. I don't remember if it was for the Vita or what, but it did not have online play. You could share your tracks and everything, but there was no online. And like, I didn't get it. Like, why would I?
Back then, especially, it's interesting because we're seeing kind of a bounce back from it now. But back then, like, since online was the new hotness, like, all the most popular games were online multiplayer games. Especially you got your Call of Duties and your Halos around that time. And now we're seeing kind of a pullback where we see really popular, single player games again, and multiplayer. It's kind of like a mix now. But like back then, it definitely skewed in the direction of like, if your game didn't have multiplayer, like, the investors at, paying for your game or whatever would not see value in it, which is why we saw so many games have tacked on multiplayer, like BioShock multiplayer and Mass Effect multiplayer and stuff like that.
Yeah, but to see a kart racer without multiplayer.
Yeah, that's silly.
Yeah, that is kind of weird.
Yeah, it just didn't make sense. I mean, Mario Kart DS had online multiplayer. So you're going to hit me with a...
But this is just the Vita version, right? You're saying the PS3 version did have multiplayer?
It did, yes.
Okay.
But like, that's not enough. Like, who was going to play this kart racer on handheld that did not have like that Nintendo managed to beat out in online feature wise? But like, yeah, the original one was super fun, had online play, online or online level sharing and everything. It was just Little Big Planet as a kart racer, and it was fine. It was amazing.
Yeah, and I'd even extend that argument to to who would play a kart racer that's not Mario Kart? Like, let's be honest, Mario Kart dominated that
Sonic
demographic.
Racing or Sonic and All Stars Racing Transformed or whatever.
That's pretty fun. I have played that quite a bit actually.
But like, I'm not gonna sit here and say that Mario has a monopoly on kart racers, but you have to at least have the Mario Kart, like, I don't know, just if you've let Nintendo beat you out on online functionality, you have failed in every imaginable way.
Yeah, that's so true.
But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the PS3 game, which was good, but I don't have a whole lot to say about it because it was just a good kart racer.
Okay.
The items were a little uninspired, I'll say that. Like, you got to do better than just a rocket launcher.
Was that just like a red shell?
Yeah, basically, except it flew through the air, so it like wasn't as dodgeable.
Ah, okay.
Which it was just red shells, but worse, kind of. Mario Kart, but worse, is a common theme in kart racers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would argue all of them are like that, but
yeah.
Mike?
All right, Metal Gear Solid 4 is my next thing on my little list here.
Awesome.
What a game.
Honestly, like, if I were to rank this, I think Metal Gear Solid 4 would be somewhere near the top, but I didn't want to rank it. I played the game at least three times through back when I had it. It was just that fun and that enjoyable an experience to play through that many times. Had a lot of cutscenes though.
Well,
I at the time didn't have a record for
Metal Gear Solid game with a lot of cutscenes. Are you sure?
Okay. Yeah,
this
but
is the
like
first one with a lot of
four
cutscenes.
took it to such an extreme. It's
4
like
was where it got-
absurd.
I know. I thought I had beat Metal Gear Solid 4. The cutscene was so long. I thought it was like an ending reward, and I was like, this game was really short.
Yeah, you're like watching a movie most of the time.
Kojima is an absolute madman, and I love it.
He is. Yeah. I love it less than you, but I do think it's hilarious.
Like, you just had the opportunity to just sit there and nothing but watch a cutscene for a couple hours, really.
Yeah, and I was totally here for it. Like,
Yeah.
I loved it.
The game was fun. It had that whole microwave sequence.
Yeah.
That's such an iconic moment, too.
I never did beat it. I still mean to. It's the only Metal Gear Solid game I have Metal Gear Solid Naked
5?
the one with Naked Snake.
Yeah, that's 5.
No.
Oh no, that's 3. Sorry.
Yeah, I have 3. Yeah.
5 is like Punish Snake or some nonsense.
Yeah,
5 is Venom Snake.
Venom Snake. Venom Snake. Yeah.
Venom Pain.
I had 5, but I returned it. I'm not a big Kojima guy, but I really want to beat 3 and 4 since I have them anyway.
Yeah, I just have 5 lying around that I need to finish.
Yeah, it's unfortunate what happened with 5. It's essentially an unfinished game because of how Konami treated Kojima, but that's a different discussion.
All right, David, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Metal Gear Solid 4: Guns of the Patriots.
It's the same
familiar.
number 3. Sounds very familiar.
Yeah, so just the name alone should tell you everything you need to know about that game, right?
Yeah, it does.
Man.
Yeah.
It really does.
This is just an excuse to talk about Metal Gear more, not gonna lie.
No, this game, let me tell you how crazy I am. Metal Gear Solid 4: Guns of the Patriots was my first Metal Gear game.
Me too.
It was my
Really?
second.
Okay, so I'm not as crazy as I thought. But like I'm saying that because at that point there's such a complex web of nonsense that you have to untangle to even remotely like understand what's happening in the Metal Gear story.
Which is why I never did.
Yeah, like and that's why I didn't either. I was just along for the ride, and I love the ride. But it's just funny to me, like, if anyone's jumping in point is Metal Gear Solid 4, like, you cannot hope to have any sort of deep understanding of what's happening.
Or
like,
understanding in general, deep or not. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, that game, I've played it so many times, I can't even count. Like, I remember just replaying it over and over and over. I'd never played anything like it at the time. And, like, we'd have, like, these 20-minute long cutscenes that were essentially just PowerPoint presentations where he showed you various diagrams and charts, and I was all here for it. I was totally eating up whatever nonsense Kojima was feeding me.
Really?
Yeah. And like
I got to the first like several hour cutscene thing, and I walked away.
So no, I'm not even talking about the long cutscenes. This is like these are like the info dumps, right? Like there are parts in the game where like you literally just get presented with like diagrams and charts for like minutes.
I never made it that far. I
Yeah.
guess that's not familiar to me at all.
No, that's totally a thing. And going to the cutscenes, the first time I got to like the hour-long cutscene, I was so into it. I thought it was just so bold and awesome for this guy to essentially insert like multiple movies into his game. Like I had never seen anything like it before, and I was so on board. And like the cutscenes were the most insane things. Like I think back to, okay, I guess I'm gonna spoil Metal Gear 4 now, but like I think back to, like Ocelot activating the Guns of the Patriots thing, and like secretly revealing their like nanomachines in everyone's guns, and he can control all the weapons in the world and nonsense like that, or like Raiden like fighting Metal Gear Rex and like stopping like a ship from crashing into the island with like his bare hands, or like Raiden fighting off like an army with like no arms and just a sword in his mouth.
That whole vamp fight was pretty good too.
Yeah, the vamp fight was that was like Metal Gear
iconic.
4, like it's so absurd. Like it switches seamlessly between like complex like espionage war plot and anime nonsense.
Yeah,
like it bounces. Yeah, sorry.
Expertly crafted in terms of how Kojima just goes from, yeah, this is super serious to, oh yeah, this girl's making eggs while a cyborg ninja fights an entire army.
Well, a cyborg ninja fights an immortal vampire. Why is he a vampire? Why is he immortal? I'm sure there's a reason. I have no idea. But
vampirism and immortality are clearly related. But yeah, but I'll let that one slide.
But like, why is there a vampire in this game in the first place? I guess some sort of scientific experiment gone wrong.
Nanomachines.
I think
it's like nanomachines.
That's a meme, but like that really is the explanation to everything in Metal Gear 4.
And anything then, like, in the Metal Gear universe is either nanomachines or it's a clone.
And like the ending of that game where you're Snake crawling through the microwave, and then you fight Ocelot, and then or you fight Liquid, right? Like it's supposed to be Liquid, but then like you have that like fist fight with him, and it like turns into a fighting game for a quick sec, and then like you beat him, and then he sort of reveals he was Ocelot the whole time pretending to be Liquid, and like everything was just like 3D chess nonsense, and I don't even know. It was awesome. I don't understand it, but it's still awesome, and I still support it.
Yeah, it's...
You said you were going to spoil this game, but nothing you've said just now like actually means enough to me.
Yeah, I know. Like those are actual major spoilers from the game, but like again, nonsense.
Yeah, like none of that meant anything to me. Like I could go pick up that game now and be just as lost as I was before.
And then like the virus that was like making Snake all old at the end, like he's gonna kill himself before it takes over his body. But then like the old Snake from the previous games appears, and it's like Big Boss appears, and he was like, I was actually alive the whole time, and this is the actual plot the whole time. Yeah, but like
Big Boss is only in 3.
Dude, like there are 4 or 5 times in that game where a new character appears and goes like, "Hey, the entire plot up to this point was actually like this, or like actually part of my plan," and it's just the most silly thing. Like to the very end, like literally to the very end of the game, like we have Big Boss appearing, being like, "Hey, the entire plot up to now was nonsense. Here's what actually happened." Like
you're Kojima, unfiltered.
It's ridiculous. And that was Kojima when he was working for someone, Just imagine what Death Stranding is like,
Just
I don't have to. I've seen the stupid Princess Peach scene.
Yeah.
To an extent, you do need to restrain Kojima at times, or else he's just gonna go off the wall.
I agree.
He's gonna say Mario and Princess Peach.
I really think Metal Gear 4 is his best game. I like it way better than Death Stranding.
You have to like constrain his creative genius, or else nothing's gonna get done.
Yeah,
that's the case of a lot of people like Kojima.
But yeah, like Metal Gear 4, like what an achievement! Like it I don't think there was never a game like it before it, and I still don't think after it there's a game quite like it. Still, like you don't really have games with these like hour-long cutscenes, like with these diagrams and charts thrown at you. Like no one else has the audacity to do something like that.
That is true, and that's fine.
That's fine. Yeah,
I can't, for the life of me, I don't want to play another Metal Gear Solid 4. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just that kind of game. You want to play the first one, and then you never want to touch another game like it ever again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think a game like unless Kojima makes it, no game can really replicate what the feel of playing Metal Gear 4 is like.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess that's the end of my rant. Yeah, Metal Gear 4, absolutely balls to the wall insane. That's why it's my number 3. Connor?
Yeah. Mine is gonna have to be. Yeah, we're up to Transformers: War for Cybertron.
You're a degenerate.
I love that fucking game. That is probably my second most played PS3 game. And it's a good game. It is a very good video game. It's probably to this day maybe not the best. Maybe not the best shooter I've played, but probably the most interesting.
So it's a Transformers game, right? So is it kind of like a mecha game?
No, not really. It's just it's a third person shooter where sometimes you turn into a car or a jet or something. It's really not super deep, but the online multiplayer, like the fact that you could just like be a sniper that could turn into a jet and fly up to like a sniping position and then just pick people off was so fun.
That does sound fun. It's just I don't know. Like as soon as you said
play it, like were you?
No,
I
haven't. I haven't played it. But like as soon as you said Transformers,
this was like
I was just like, what?
This was back when like licensed games started getting good. This was around Batman Arkham, and it got a sequel. It got a sequel called Fall of Cybertron that was supposedly even better, but I never played it.
Interesting, yeah.
No, I'm not sitting here like nostalgia-ing. This was actually a very good game.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
Transformers for me was never interesting to me. Like I don't know, like that sounds like something that would be up my alley, but I just always found it quite boring. But like,
I'm not into Transformers either. I got this game for the gameplay. Like I don't.
On a surface level, that you sound absolutely insane, but I'll take your word for it.
It had a really cool aesthetic. It just I don't know, and it was cool to have a Transformers game that didn't take place on Earth. This was all on Cybertron, which was like, I don't know. It did that, I think, in large part to separate itself from the movies because it did have nothing to do with the Michael Bay movies.
That's good.
This was a Transformers thing, not a Michael Bay Transformers thing.
Yeah, the less it has to do with that, the better.
Agreed. So, yeah, it was just really fun. I actually didn't play the online too terribly much, but the campaign was really fun. Like, it was just a good video game. That's why it's so high. I mean, my list isn't ordered, but if it was, this would be pretty high on my list.
God, I mean, I can't really make fun of you. Like, we all have our unique tastes.
Not that unique. A lot of people liked this game. I've thought about rebuying it on PC.
Do you think the online community is still there?
I'd just play the campaign.
Yeah.
With better graphics. Yeah. No, I guarantee the online community is not there. It's a Transformers game. But plus there was a sequel that was apparently better in every way.
Yeah. All right, Mike.
My next one is actually a launch title, Resistance: Fall of Man.
Ah, great pick. Yeah.
I have never even heard of that game.
Honestly, I never actually completed the game solo. It's just really difficult, if I remember correctly. But it's one of those games that spawned 3 games, and I just stopped making it.
Yeah, I mean, there's still like a cult of really dedicated Resistance fans.
Yeah,
that are hounding Insomniac to like come back.
Another game.
Yeah. Like I think this is the first time like Insomniac, first and only time, right? Like they delved into like FPS territory.
Yeah, it was the first time they did an FPS, and it worked really well, honestly. The second game was good. The first game was stellar. The third game was also really good.
I mean, Insomniac just never really has bad games. They just don't make bad games.
They've made a conscious decision to make good video games.
Yeah. Like, I don't think Insomniac's ever made like a terrible game. They've made some off picks, but it hasn't been like, oh god, this game's trash.
Yeah.
Yeah, Resistance, yeah, like for me, like I played a lot of PS3 exclusives, right? But Resistance for me, like I played it a little bit, but at that time, at that age, I was just so much more interested in like Call of Duty and Halo, so I never really gave it the fair shake, I think. But like I remember it being quite fun, like the campaign at least, and like the weapons having that signature sort of Insomniac sort of flair to them. They weren't just your standard weapons, right? Like they had Insomniac-esque like quirks to them.
Yeah. It's like if you took like some of the weird quirks from Ratchet and Clank and then threw it into
make it more gritty and realistic.
Setting.
Yeah.
And that's Resistance.
Because I think like Resistance is like the darkest tone Insomniac's ever gone for in a video game, right? Like those games were rated M.
Yes, I think. I don't remember, but I think they were.
Yeah.
It was just one of those games that you play and you're like, oh god, this is kind of good. It starts off rough because you don't have any of the features you get later in the game, but
yeah, and I think like obviously it was popular enough for them to make like 2 more games, but the reason I don't think it ever caught on like some of the other FPS games is because at that time everyone was making FPS titles. There were so many, like both first parties were making them. Third parties were pumping them out like crazy. So like
and they were all brown. It was
they were all like brown and beige.
Era brown.
Yeah, that was the era of like the beige shooter.
Fortunate because Resistance 2 was not as brown as Resistance 1.
Yeah, that's probably why. Yeah, that's probably a big part of the reason I never played this was because I like hated shooters at the time. I thought that they were brown and boring, and so I just avoided them.
They were like taking over the world, in that time frame, like late 2000s, early 2010s. Like that's what gaming was for a hot minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was not a fan personally. I
mean, I was pretty much all my FPS gaming was taken up by Halo 3 and Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Like played those games to death.
Mine was Resistance 2 co-op pretty much.
Yeah. No, I'm glad Resistance made it onto one of our lists. I think that game definitely deserves a shout out.
Yeah.
I'll take your word for it. I'm probably never going to play that game.
I hope they do like a remaster and throw it on one of the newer, like PS4, PS5. But I don't know how likely that is, especially with Spider-Man blowing up for Insomniac and them working on Ratchet as well. They've got their hands full.
Yeah.
Okay, I will move on to my number 2, which should not be a surprise to anyone. Dark Souls.
Okay, yeah.
So
it fits the
Dark Souls. I played the entirety of this game on PS3. The hideous frame rate in Blighttown.
I expected you to have played this on 360. That's why I didn't expect it on your list.
Yeah, no, it's funny. So like I bought Skyrim on 360 and I bought Dark Souls on PS3. So for whatever reason, that's how I decided to do it when I was in 12th grade or 11th grade.
I think you made the right call because I think Blighttown was worse on 360 than it was on
Yeah, maybe I did research on that, or maybe not. I don't remember. I do seem to remember, going in blind. Like I all I knew was that this game was getting like praised, like, and I didn't really know what it was or anything like that. And that's sort of my favorite sort of game purchase, right? You can't really do that anymore today because you're just inundated with so much information. But like that's what I did for Uncharted Drake's Fortune, like the first Uncharted game. Like I just saw it was Naughty Dog and I love Jack and Daxter, so I bought that game and that really sort of opened my world to like Uncharted and that style of game.
Yeah.
But like yeah, I did a similar thing here with Dark Souls, and like I've said this before on the show as well, but like I fully went in expecting, obviously I still love Skyrim to this day. Like I played the crap out of Skyrim when I got it, but like Dark Souls completely outshone Skyrim. Like, and I did not see that coming, right? Like at Skyrim, everyone was waiting for that game. It was like the second coming of Jesus. It still sort of is because like everyone still talks about it like decades later.
I mean,
unfortunately,
Microsoft paid like billions of dollars to own it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for me, this game I had never heard of before, just so enraptured me in a way I did not think was possible. And sort of, and we all know like Demon Souls was the first, but Dark Souls is what made that genre.
Oh right? Yeah, Souls started with Dark Souls.
Yeah, so Dark Souls created its own genre, a genre that's alive and healthy today and stronger than ever, I would argue. And Dark Souls was what sort of catapulted From Software into legendary status, I think. Like,
yeah.
It's From Software, if you ask me today, is easily one of the top 5, if not top 3 developers in the world. Like no hesitation calling them that. Their level design and lore is just on another level.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And yeah, and in terms of difficulty, this was the first time I played a game quite like this, right? Like punishingly hard, but like it didn't phase me too much because like I was totally okay with failing over and over until I learned. And that mentality stuck with me, into the sequels to Dark Souls 2, 3, Bloodborne, and Sekiro. And ultimately, that's sort of ingrained into me. It's just the way I play games now. Like if I come across a challenge that's too hard, I never lower the difficulty. I just sort of figure a way around it. Yep. And I think that sort of mentality started with Dark Souls.
I think that that's a good mentality sometimes. I think that there are games I have played where I have insisted on playing on whatever difficulty I chose in the beginning, and that was a mistake.
Yeah, no, I agree. It can be a double-edged sword because, like, I stubbornly bash my head against things and get very angry sometimes, and I refuse to, turn the difficulty down. Like
Same, for sure.
I played, so God of War 2018 on PS4, right? It has like a secret final boss, and I guess it's not really spoilers, but like you can fight like the Valkyrie Queen, and it's considered by many to be one of the toughest bosses of like the PlayStation 4, Xbox One era. Like it's right up there with like From Software's hardest bosses. And I played that boss fight for the first time on hard, and I would not go down to normal. And it took several hours, but I did it. And I don't think I would have done it if I had not played Dark Souls all those years ago.
Yeah, probably not.
For whatever
it did definitely. I mean, Dark Souls has definitely made me feel like there's not a game out there that I can't beat given enough time.
Yeah, and I guess it depends on the game too, right? But because like Dark Souls, for all the flack it gets about difficulty, it really truly does teach you how to play it, I think.
Oh yeah.
I'm very much of the opinion that anyone can pick up and play Dark Souls.
I agree with that. Yeah.
So, like, I hear all the time, like, from some of my friends, like, those games aren't for me. I don't want to play something impossibly hard. I'm like, it's really not impossibly hard. It really does teach you how it just teaches you its own way to play the game.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't hold your hand or anything, but it does give you everything you need.
It doesn't give you waypoints. It doesn't give you missions. It doesn't give you any of that, but
actually, there are some instances where I feel like Dark Souls misses the mark a little bit. Like I think that there are for sure moments in Dark Souls where you not only don't have waypoints, but just have no feasible way to know where you should go.
I would agree. Like near the beginning, maybe like when you open up, like you could go to New Londo Ruins, you could go, to the Undead Burg, you could go to a bunch of places. But like I feel like even there, the games does a decent job of informing you. Okay, you go to this area. The enemies here are impossibly strong, so maybe there's a different area you should go to first. Obviously, that's not it's not 100% intuitive because modern games at least, really sort of map out the path you should take. But Dark Souls does convey that to you in its own way.
What got me in Dark Souls was at the very beginning, I beat a boss. I can't quite remember where. I think it was the Gaping Dragon. And Dark Souls had not at this point taught me to read item descriptions, really.
Mm-hmm.
Like that had been like a thing you could do, but not like something you absolutely had to do to beat the game. But the item description on that key is the only thing that tells you how to progress. And that just never even occurred to me. I had just assumed it was going to say, it's a key. And that was why I never beat Dark Souls on PS3. It was because I never did get past that part until I played it on PC years later.
I mean, yeah, like... But the thing is, like, once you play one Souls game, like, all the way through, you can play any Souls game, right? Like, you can play any From Software game. Because, like... you've sort of passed the test, as it were, if you play one of those games. You know how these games expect you to pay attention and look for yourself and not rely on, like, game developer driven, like, points of here's what you should do, here's where you should go next. All of that's available to you if you pay attention and sort of look for yourself. And I really respect that about game design from Software.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people, like, I know the discourse about difficulty in FromSoft games. I'm familiar and all, but I don't really agree with the idea that there should be an easy mode in Dark Souls. I'm pretty against it. Not because games shouldn't have an easy mode, but those in particular, like, the sense of accomplishment is so important. And, like, if a game has an easy mode, I'm going to find myself thinking, like, why am I not... it's there. Why not use it?
Yeah.
So I'm pretty staunchly against Dark Souls easy mode.
No, I definitely think that would, go against the philosophy of the game. Or, you have one director's singular vision, and that would definitely sort of dilute that, I think. But yeah, we've rented on Dark Souls before in the past. I think that was my number one game of the last decade when we did our top like 5 or 10 games of, the 2010s. So yeah, like obviously love Dark Souls. We'll always love Dark Souls, and we'll always recognize the impact it had on the gaming industry, even to this day. So number 2 is Dark Souls.
All right.
That puts us on me.
Sure. Yeah.
Mine's Uncharted, the whole series. I can't really pick one. I really, or the 1 through 3, the ones on PS3.
Yeah.
Because I would have put, controversially, I would have put Uncharted 3 before Uncharted 2.
I totally respect that decision.
Well, I played it first.
Yeah. No, that's a very important point. I totally, all the people were outraged when, people were giving 10 out of 10s to Uncharted 3 as well, because, as Uncharted 2, and, there's no way it's anywhere close to as good as Uncharted 2. I would 100% argue, if you played Uncharted 3 before 2, Uncharted 3 would be your favorite.
Yeah, the problem is Uncharted 3 is exactly as good as Uncharted 2, because it's very much the same game with a different story.
Yeah. And that's totally fine, I think. What those games do, they do so well.
Yeah, I've got no complaints. I would still, play either of them in a heartbeat, but Uncharted 3 is more nostalgic for me. And I think it's insane, Naughty Dog's ability to, both tell a meaningful story. I played Uncharted 1, then Uncharted 3, and then Uncharted 2.
Mm-hmm.
And while the story in Uncharted 2 was amazing and significant, nothing happened that made me not understand Uncharted 3,
Yeah.
All the character relationships were totally clear to me. All the history,
you might have been slightly confused when Chloe showed up, but
well, they introduced her as though she was a new character, so I was just like, oh, okay, because that one dude was a new character, wasn't he? And they introduced him and Chloe in the same scene.
Yeah.
The bigger dude. So I was just like, oh, cool, this is my merry band of men in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, love those games.
It really does. The Uncharted series really did play because I played both 2 and 3. They were almost on my list, but I figured everyone else would talk about them, so I decided not to.
Fair.
Like, it's on my little list I have up my second monitor, but it has a little question mark next to it because I figured everyone else would talk about it.
You're right.
Yeah, I mean, like, come on, like everyone loves Uncharted. Like, it's just so lovable. Like, I know that's a weird thing to say, but it's just not just the characters, right? Like, the characters are super charming, but just like the experience as a whole, you know, like the rush of like the treasure hunt. I think they capture so well.
Sure. It is an amazing game, and I cannot get enough of it. I've been thinking about replaying the series because they gave it out for free to people during the pandemic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, on PS4.
Oh, yeah, I vaguely remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my number 2.
Uncharted series in 60 FPS on PS4. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I just have to actually touch my PS4, which I do not do very often.
Play Bloodborne.
No.
Okay. Mike, what's your number 2?
All right, my number 2 is actually Killzone 2. It's
great. Yeah.
More of a pickup of a game I played a lot and played the crap out of rather than a game that was just like iconic of the generation, because I'd argue Killzone 3 was a game that was bigger, I guess. I don't know. I didn't play 3. I only played 2 in the PS4 launch title. But Killzone 2 was just one of those games where I had hours of enjoyment just getting on multiplayer and just murking people. I generally don't get that anymore. But Killzone 2 just had it for me.
I always remember Killzone as the series with like the absurdly pretty graphics. You know, like those games always looked really good.
It never looked bad.
Yeah, and I remember there was even like a controversy at like E3 once. I don't remember if it was like Killzone 2 or Killzone 3, but like they showed footage of like the Killzone game and it just looked ludicrously good. Like there was no way it was real, and it turned out it totally wasn't real when the real game came out. But like those games do look quite good. And
yeah,
I remember like we mentioned earlier in the show, like this was the era of like the FPS. We had so many FPS games, and like Killzone, I think it did its job well. I don't know if it was ever more popular than Resistance. I don't know which of those series is bigger, but like
I mean, it got a next gen port.
It did, yeah. It got Killzone 4 on PS4, right?
Shadowfall,
yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, it was like a launch title, so it wasn't as good.
But yeah, like
next gen.
The gameplay in the Killzone games always felt what's the word? Like it felt like weighty to me, right? Like it felt like slower and heavier than other FPS games I'm used to. But
the
like
shotguns were good. Everything felt like it had like power to it. I don't know. It's hard to describe.
No. Yeah, I think that's accurate. And it was a really unique feel, right? Because I don't remember any other FPS at the time feeling like that. Which might have been to its detriment, because like people were really used to like the quick gameplay of Call of Duty and stuff like that, which is why I think those games, well, part of why those games were so good and so popular. But like Killzone, yeah, definitely like one of the unique PS3 era shooters. And it's kind of sad, right? Like I don't think they're going to make any more Killzone games, because Guerrilla Games is now working on Horizon, which is obviously their next big thing. And I think they're working on one other thing that's unannounced, but like if you try to go to Killzone.com now, it just redirects you to like the Sony main website. So I think that's a sign that like Killzone has been retired.
That's a coffin. Yeah.
Yeah. Shadowfall was kind of the game that broke their back, though.
Shadowfall was a solid game. I played it on launch on PS4.
It just was. It was the launch title. It wasn't developed originally for the PS4, so it didn't feel next gen.
I mean, it looked pretty next gen to me at the time. Like the graphics were really pretty, but yeah, gameplay wise, I don't remember it being quite an evolution over the previous Killzone games.
It really wasn't.
Being launch title but not planned as a launch title can kind of be a kiss of death, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, some games do it quite well, like see Breath of the Wild, or any Zelda game for that matter.
Yeah. Well, the hardware of the Wii U and the hardware of the Switch were incredibly similar anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a fair case, but
Yeah, rest in peace, Killzone.
Rest in peace.
All right, nope.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to say something, Connor?
I was gonna say I believe that puts us on number ones.
Yes, my number one game is Uncharted 2: Among Thieves. This game is so special to me. Like, I have replayed it more than any game I think I've ever played. Like, I've replayed Uncharted 2 10 times at least, I would say. And that's being conservative. Like, this game set the standard for what the blockbuster action game was, like, going forward. Like, there was no action game, or there was no, like, action adventure game like Uncharted 2, you know, until that point, right? Like, especially when you think of, like, some of the set piece moments, like the train moving through the terrain as you progress through the level. That was so innovative at the time. Like, no one was doing anything like that. And just, you know, the story of, like, the Chintamani stone and, like, the treasure hunt and Nate and Elena and, like, Sully and, like, all the characters really sort of came into their own. Like, Uncharted 1 really sort of laid the groundwork, and Uncharted 2 really just took off from that groundwork. Like, Uncharted 2 to me was simultaneously the perfect sequel and the perfect, like, entry point into the franchise. I don't think you had to have played Uncharted 1 to appreciate Uncharted 2. Obviously, you'd get more out of it, but, like, Uncharted 2,
1 is kind of the lame duck of the franchise.
I would agree with that. But, like, I would argue, like, I would hand Uncharted 2 to anyone, even if they haven't played video games before, and be like, play this. Like, I think it's a perfect jumping in point to video games as well. Especially because it has, like, that pulpy narrative feel to it that really sort of sucks in, like, even the most, like, casual person who really doesn't touch video games.
Yeah.
Like, I've had, like, I can't even count the number of times I've been surrounded by friends playing Uncharted 2, and they're just watching and totally content, you know?
Yeah. Really, really great thing to have your friends over to do, it.
We had fun.
Yeah. No, I get it, but yeah.
But, yeah, like, do you guys agree with my assessment that, like, action games weren't really what they were until Uncharted 2?
Mostly, yeah. I think weirdly enough, Devil May Cry kind of laid down some foundation for that on the PS2. Devil May Cry 3.
Right, but, like, set piece wise,
playable set piece wise, yeah. They're Uncharted definitely did it better than Devil May Cry 3 did. But Devil May Cry 3 certainly did do it. But
Uncharted 2 has one of the strongest hooks I've seen in a game, like, at least in terms of set pieces, right? Like, you start out with that derailed train and Nate's, like, hanging on the edge, covered in blood and snow, and you have to, like, climb your way out. Like, what a way to open a game, you know? Like, then it flashes back and you eventually work up to that point.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and like, I know I already said it before, but the standout moment to me, like, when I first played this game, I just could not believe it, was the train. Like, just the fact that, okay, this train's actually going to be moving through the world in real time while I play the game and advance through the level, and it's actually going to, like, it's not, like, just repeated stuff, right? It's actually, like, going on a route, and it's, like, the terrain is changing around me. I was just like, oh my goodness, like, I've never seen something like this in a video game before.
Yeah, I guess that just didn't hit me as hard because I had played Uncharted 3 first, and I'd seen that plane scene. So, like,
yeah, I mean, obviously the plane scene blows this out of the water, but at the time, this was revolutionary.
Yeah, that was the first one. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, at the time, like, I had never ever seen something like this in a video game, and I was in love with it. Like, the lighthearted tone, like, just Nathan Drake is such a great character. Like, he's so enjoyable to just put him in a situation and see what he does. You know, like, he's one of those characters that's just always interesting to watch.
Yeah. He definitely is. Yeah.
He is. He's very personable, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I could sing this game's praises all day. Like, I think if we made a top 5 of all time list, this game would probably be on there for me.
Have we not done that?
No, we've never done that. The closest we got to that was our top 5 of the last decade. Maybe we could do a top 5 of all time. That would be a very spicy list, I feel like.
Yeah, I don't know if I could do that. I'm not very good at picking favorites.
Yeah, I don't even know if I could do that, to be honest. Like, even like dividing it up into these broad chunks is sort of difficult to me. If I were to loop together everything, like, okay, yeah, choose between Zelda and Uncharted, and like how am I supposed to, like, it would be really tough. Maybe one day.
Yeah.
But yeah, for now, like, Uncharted 2 among these will and forever will be my favorite PlayStation 3 game.
Should I move on to mine then?
Yeah, go for it.
My top is, believe it or not, Little Big Planet. Specifically 2, but 1. Well, I probably had more hours in 1.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, specifically Little Big Planet bomb survival stages. I loved those. I spent so many, like, just a stupid number of hours playing those as a kid. I just loved it so much. I loved that, like, it was just this one little game mode that, like, wasn't even like a default thing in the game that somebody else had come up with, but I could spend like 20 hours playing it and have a different experience every time.
Bombs, like, this is the first time hearing of it, so that goes to show you I never experienced the full Little Big Planet experience.
It was a fairly common level type to make, and it was basically just you would build a stage. Sometimes it was like a tower with bombs in it that went off progressively, and you like wanted to try to stay as high in the tower as you could. Sometimes it was like a train you were on that had bombs raining from the sky or something. But it wasn't like a level with a start and an end. It was just like survive as long as you could, and you would constantly get points while you were alive. And they were just stupid, chaotic fun. I really loved them. They were super fun to do with some friends online, or even split screen, or not split screen, but co-op.
No, I totally respect the choice of putting Little Big Planet 2 at the top, because, like, in a sense, this is going to sound kind of weird, but it's similar to Minecraft in that, like, the experience really is what you make of it, right? Like, you could make all these custom levels and have fun with your friends and do all of that, but, like, me personally, I just sort of played the campaign and a few custom levels and didn't really play multiplayer ever. So
you didn't play the
totally
game right
different.
then.
Yeah,
I mean, the campaign was garbage. You didn't see 1% of what that game had to offer. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I played some custom levels, but, like, and I enjoyed it, but, like, I didn't dive as deep as you did.
No, I mean, that's like picking up Mario Maker and playing the inbuilt Nintendo levels on the start screen and saying that you didn't like it. Like,
I mean, I liked it. It was on my honorable mention list.
I know, but it just, like, I just can't believe that you stopped there. Like, the whole game is the multiplayer and the the playing other people's levels and the level creator. I think, I mean, obviously the platforming mechanics in it are not as good as Mario Maker, but the creation tools are better, and, like, the stuff you can do is more broad because it was kind of physics based and everything. And it was just super wide open. It really did feel like you could do whatever you wanted, especially in Little Big Planet 2. And I also think it kind of defines that era of Sony. Like, it was between this and Uncharted for me, but yeah. Uncharted didn't go away. You know, the bombastic cinematic experience kind of carried on, but Little Big Planet is a fairly uniquely PlayStation 3 thing.
Well, I would argue that its spirit lives on in Dreams, right?
Yes, but not to anywhere near the same extent, in my opinion. Dreams is obviously a far more powerful tool, and the things people are making in it are cooler, but the community is nowhere near as good as Little Big Planet, I think.
That's unfortunate. You know, you'd think that the community would carry over, and I'm sure Media Molecule was somewhat banking on that as well, but
yeah,
I don't know. From what I've heard, Dreams isn't, like, I mean, it's a great game, but the community just isn't there yet, which is a little unfortunate. I do think they would find more success if they sort of like, maybe bundled it with PlayStation Plus, made it free. It would really sort of blow up there, but that's a different discussion.
Yeah.
Anything else to say, Connor?
No, I mean that's really it.
Okay, Mike, what's your? I guess yours isn't in an order, but what's your last game?
My last game is actually Ratchet and Clank: Future Tools of Destruction, in particular. It's one of those games that I had to pick between either, what was it, Crack in Time or Future Tools. But I think Future Tools of Destruction won out because I played it more. Yeah. It's Ratchet and Clank. Like, I don't know what else I can say about it.
It was the sort of return of Ratchet and Clank, right? They were kind of gone for a while before that game.
Yeah, that was the next gen Ratchet and Clank. It was the future, basically. Wow, title. But it actually set up like a 3-game plot arc, which was at that point kind of unheard of because the first 3 Ratchet and Clanks were kind of separate but connected, almost.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess was okay, and then you had Deadlocked in the middle, but it was a return to form because Deadlocked didn't have any of the platforming or anything. And then you just reach Future Tools, and all of a sudden, it's the game again with all the elements from Deadlock that people liked and none of the bad parts.
Yeah, fun fact, Future Tools of Destruction was actually my first Ratchet and Clank game.
It was not mine. So
yeah, I actually never played the PS2 games. So that was my first experience with Ratchet and Clank, and it made me immediately regret never getting into the other ones as a child.
It introduced a lot of wacky weapons, like the Groovatron.
Groovatron is great.
The things that Somniac thought of, and the little attentions to details in that game, because the Groovatron had a different animation for every single enemy, and I think there was actually a challenge.
I love that stuff. Yeah,
there was a challenge for seeing all the dances, which at that point, young Michael was just blown away.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but like even the bosses were affected by the Groovatron, right?
Yeah.
So like literally any enemy in the game, you throw this bomb and they like forced to dance for like a hot second.
What was it? The Viscerocopter or whatever. It's the drone that you can control. You were actually immune to damage while you were operating that drone. So I used it to cheese like 3/4 of the health bar of the final boss.
Yeah.
Because why not? Everything in that game, like even every gun was useful. I think there was like a whip, or that might have been Deadlocked. There were the claws. I remember the claws. I'd have to look at a weapon list to really like nostalgically remember the game because I haven't played it in so long. But it's so it was really a return to form for the entire series. Had some nice set pieces. Don't know what else there is to say.
I haven't played it. I really like Ratchet and Clank, and I remember seeing the demo for this and it being like one of the reasons I bought my PS3, but I never ended up actually getting it because I didn't have any money.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ratchet and Clank, it's really special in the sense that like it's one of the few franchises that is on every Sony console, right? Like except for the PS1, right?
Yeah.
But like ever since, like we've seen Jak and Daxter, extended a little into the PS3 era, but like it was mostly a PS2 era game. Uncharted looks to be mostly like PS3, a little PS4 era game, but like Ratchet and Clank, Insomniac, keeps it interesting, keeps it fresh, and keeps it relevant across console generations, and I think that's a really special and unique thing.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that Ratchet never got really a fair shake at being the PlayStation mascot,
I mean, I definitely think he was like a contender in the PS2 era, right? Like, who else was the mascot? It had to have been Ratchet and Clank, right?
I mean,
PS2 era.
No, because there was
Jak and Daxter. Yeah, but like
I feel
like Ratchet and Clank was more popular than Jak and Daxter in terms of like a platformer mascot.
I mean, I think of Kratos and Dante a lot more than I think of Ratchet. I think of PS2.
That's fair. Yeah, like
I think of Dante and the Kratos a lot when I think of the PS2.
But I think
I just think of Dante.
Yeah.
No, I think of Ratchet and Clank as one of those. Ratchet and Clank and Jack is like.
Which is kind of funny because Dante only got one really good game on the PS2. Like, Devil May Cry 1 was okay. Devil May Cry 3 was amazing. Devil May Cry 2 was terrible.
I'm different for like the PS2 era. I think Jack and Daxter and Ratchet were a good. Like, if I think of the PS2, I think of those two games.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jack and Daxter, Sly Cooper, and Ratchet. That's like the holy grail of PS2 platformers right there.
I wanted to talk about the Sly Cooper trilogy on PS3 because the only way I've played those games is in the HD remake for the PS3, but I left it off because it was a collection of PS2 games.
Yeah.
So that's one of my
have we all played? Did we all own a PS2? Just keeping in mind for future episodes, maybe.
I did not get a PS2 until like 2015.
Okay. Well, you still had one, so I don't know.
Yeah, and I haven't played 5 games on it. I played like Destroy Humans 1 and 2, which I am not going to talk about separately. I hated Kingdom Hearts, and that's it.
Okay, well, yeah, I think those are some pretty solid games in each of our lists. I think be interesting to hear, some of our audience lists if they've owned a PS3.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like how do you guys feel about these ranking episodes? I always enjoy doing them and just learning what everyone's opinions are.
I like them. This one was weird for me because I just haven't played a ton of PlayStation games.
Yeah, you're definitely more Nintendo focused, right?
And there's plenty PC, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, PC's tough to do a ranking for because how would you divide it up, right?
I mean, I don't know. PC, the games it follows console. It's split into
yeah.
It's more incremental, I guess, but you can tell like the games get a little better when the next gen consoles come out just because, they actually use your hardware a little better.
Yeah, there's definitely, for future episodes we could definitely tap more into Nintendo consoles as well.
Yeah.
It's just kind of unfortunate. I don't think we'll ever have an Xbox One because I don't think all of us have owned the same Xbox console.
I have never owned any Xbox console.
Right. Okay. Well, there you have it. But yeah, those are our top 5 PS3 games. Do we want to go into what we've been playing?
Sure. I have been playing more Minecraft, and I just kind of have more to say about it than I did last week. So I've always been really into modded Minecraft. I liked Feed the Beast and I liked Tech It. Have you guys had any experience with either of those?
Yes.
So I figured you would, Mike. Have you, Ahmed? Do you know what that is?
I don't think so.
So I figured Mike would be into it because it's what got me into Satisfactory. Both of those mods have they're mod packs, and both of those mod packs have big industrial mods in them. And something I love in Minecraft is automating things. I love to just be able to sit back and let it happen, let the game happen and, check in on my progress every once in a while. And I haven't played vanilla Minecraft in a really long time. And as it turns out, they have added a lot of, I don't know if it's really intentional. I mean, some of it, there are ways to exploit quirky game mechanics in a way that is it's probably still there intentionally, but may not have been intentional to begin with. But it's really fun to make like automated farms and stuff. They added an item that I never got to mess with. This was added ages ago called a hopper. And a hopper will pick up whatever lands on top of it and put it in whatever it's connected to.
I'm familiar with hoppers.
And so like the first automated thing I did was I made a chicken farm that had lava above it, and the baby chickens were short enough not to be killed by the lava, but the second they grew into adulthood, they would catch on fire and die.
Wow.
And they would drop their cooked chicken and feathers into a hopper. And I put a bunch of adult chickens in another container, and I'm just catching their eggs and immediately using a dispenser on a redstone circuit so that the dispenser fires as soon as it has anything in it to shoot the eggs into that smaller container to get just infinite chicken that I never have to check on. Like, it just works. And I think that that's awesome. I've moved on to a couple other automated things. I was super struggling with EXP because it's super... I think it's harder to get on the Bedrock version, which is what I'm playing on, than it is on Java. And it's just super slow to kill enemies and get EXP, and you just need a lot of it to enchant your stuff. But I found out that cooking a potato gives you 0.3 EXP. So I set up a farm, and if you put a farmer villager on a farm, they pick your crops. And a farmer villager will also share food with another villager if that villager doesn't have enough food. So you can trap a farmer villager in a farm, and you can trap another villager where he can throw food to him, and then put hoppers underneath that villager to catch the food before they ever get it. And so I have an automated potato farm, and I have it feeding straight into furnaces and just mass producing baked potatoes.
Automated potato farm built off the backs of starving your constituency.
It is slave. Yeah, it's slave labor. Yes, but that's fine. And I have that. It's super finicky, and I can't figure out like why it's not working right now. I don't believe, and I can't figure out why. But because I think some updates recently broke it. Kind of, it works on and off. But and I also think that multiplayer, like connection to a server and stuff, affects whether or not it'll work a little bit. So it's a little hazy. But I love that it's a possibility, even, you know, and that I can just go take these potatoes out and get showered in EXP. I can get like from level 1 to level 30 in less than like 3 minutes or something by just eating some potatoes.
That's pretty funny.
And level 30 is like the highest relevant level. And then there's other stuff like playing with levels. I never did. Like last time I played Minecraft, getting full diamond armor almost felt like a waste of time to me because it was just gonna go away eventually. Like I was never gonna have enough diamonds that I was willing to regularly waste like 28 or whatever it takes to make a full suit of armor. So I typically just had iron armor and diamond pick and stuff. But since then, they've added some enchantments that make diamond armor, like there's an enchantment called Unbreaking, which makes stuff take damage way slower. But the key one that really changed the game for me is one called Mending. And Mending lets you convert experience when you pick it up into durability.
Right,
so I can just go pick up my potatoes, and suddenly my armor is fully repaired, and my pickaxe is fully repaired, and everything. So I don't spend diamonds anymore. And there's also enchantments that make you mine faster. And so, like, I can nearly insta-mine most blocks now. And so, you know, finding diamonds doesn't take me any time at all. So I just have, like, way more than I ever had before. And, like, there's a little bit lost there. Like, it's not nearly as exciting finding diamonds now. And it's, like, way more efficient to mine now than it is to explore caves and stuff, which may change in the next update, the Caves and Cliffs update. But I really do think that the team handling Minecraft since Notch left it's a game now. Like, it has balance, it has like a progression that makes sense and is fun. Stuff that, like, Minecraft was always super fun because you made your own fun, but now there's like a ton of like reasonable goals to set for yourself and like an actual progression ladder that makes sense to climb, that you're not going to get pushed back down immediately.
Yeah.
And don't even get me, like, they added, like, last time I played, the end was just the dragon, and then there was no reason to ever go back. And now they've added, like, end cities where you can get wings. And
really?
Like, yeah, you can get wings from the end cities. And you put those wings on.
Elytra wings, right?
Elytra, yeah. And if you have fireworks rockets, you can straight up just fly. Like,
yeah, I think that was, back when the last time I played with my friend's server, I think that was a thing, and that was lots of fun.
Yeah, and that, like, that just changes the whole game. Like, suddenly I have that, and, like, I don't have to build, like, massive roads and stuff to make it less annoying to travel between multiple bases. If I want to build those, I can just fly there in, like, no time at all. It's a huge game changer. I really like all the post 1.0 updates to Minecraft have been incredible. And I feel like I've seriously slept on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely nostalgic for the old days that were, like, really simple, but, like, I think all the updates are really good ones.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I always played modded Minecraft and stuff back in the old days because I thought vanilla was too simple, kinda. Like, you got to diamond gear, and then, you know, what did you do after that, really, other than build stuff? And that just wasn't enough for me. But they've found a way to maintain that simplicity, in my opinion, while still adding a bunch of stuff that, like, totally does not get in your way. If you want to play Minecraft the way you're used to playing Minecraft, then this stuff, you don't even have to ignore it. because it just doesn't show up unless you want it to. Like, and I think that's incredible. I think they've done an amazing job of maintaining that vanilla feel while incorporating some things from those mods that I loved, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And I'm in love with it right now. I can't quit playing it. I've been AFKing the whole podcast trying to get my see if my potato farm will work again.
Are you playing in that server you mentioned you'd set up?
Yeah, I can shoot you an invite if you want.
Well, actually, I was gonna say I would join you if I wasn't completely sucked into Hitman.
Yeah, those games are good.
Okay. So I've been playing. Full context. I bought Hitman 3, and in Hitman 3, you get access to Hitman 1 and 2 if you'd previously bought them. And the cool thing is, you get the graphical updates and all that goodness that comes with Hitman 3 applied to the old maps. So
yeah, it's not just graphical updates; it's gameplay improvements as well.
Yeah. So basically, for someone like me who had previously only seen a little gameplay and only played the tutorial level, I basically have 3 Hitman games to go through.
Yeah, and every level is like
yes,
sort of better than the last. Like,
well, okay. So let me clarify. Right now, I've gone all the way through Hitman 1. I am almost all the way through Hitman. No, I did go all the way through Hitman 2, and I'm finishing up the Hitman 2 DLC. So I will probably get
DLC.
There are 2 maps, and they're excellent.
I'll have to check that out.
So just really quick, the first map is like a bank heist scenario, like a bank robbery, and it's just so good. Like there's so many ways in, and there's so many different ways to go about it, like there are for every other map. But it's like this giant, like wealthy bank in New York, and it's just perfect.
That's a really good one. I still. What did you think of the last map of Hitman 1? I think that game's old enough we can talk
Hokkaido,
about it.
Yes, Hokkaido blew me away.
The surgery, yeah,
yes.
Like,
oh my god,
and it was so built around like the mechanics of that game, like the way your clothing was so critical to everything.
Yeah, no,
that map
game
is brilliant.
So I'm just going to steal a phrase I heard from a GameSpot review. These games are level design masterclasses.
Oh yeah.
Like like you can't do level design better than Hitman. Like I don't think, like in terms of like some of these levels are absolutely huge, but they're so interconnected and there's so many different ways to go about things. I don't even think like I don't think it's possible for 2 playthroughs of a Hitman level to be exactly the same. Like that's just how much dynamism there is in this game. Like if you and I played the same levels, you know, like there's no way we do the same things in our playthroughs. They'd probably
not on our first playthrough, no.
Yeah, they'd probably be completely different, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, especially if we have mission stories turned off. Like,
yeah,
I think that there's no way. I mean, even with mission stories on, I think it's incredibly unlikely that you and I finished Paris the same way the first time. Like,
yeah. And it's just like even the worst Hitman maps are still phenomenal levels. Like
right, yeah. When
I have my preferences.
Map, I think of the slums. I forget what.
So in Hitman 2, that would be.
That's Hitman 2.
India, right? Right.
Yeah, and there's like a war about to break out, kind of, and like you move between the military base and the slums a little bit. And
oh wait, so that might actually be.
I believe it's Hitman 1.
Yeah, so that might be Marrakesh.
Yes, Marrakesh. Yeah. I think of that as the worst level in Hitman 1, and I still have like an extremely memorable experience and like intend to go back and get all the mission stories and everything.
No, like 100% agree that like even the worst Hitman levels are extremely good levels, right? But like obviously I have my preferences, right? Like Paris, which is the first level in Hitman 1, was obviously a standout, but like it's immediately followed up by Sapienza, which is even better in my opinion. Like Sapienza is phenomenal. And then like I think the next highlight for me was definitely Hokkaido, the last level in Hitman 1. That just blew my mind. Like the way I got the kill in that level was insane. I ended up like crushing his heart with my bare hands.
Oh yeah, on Hokkaido. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hokkaido is so good. And Hokkaido is one that like
just the concept of like a futuristic like Japanese like hotel / hospital was just so like situated in like the mountains is such a fascinating thing. Like,
and moving like a ghost through that level feels more rewarding than any other level because the security is so tight. But like if you have a plan and execute it, you can make it completely effortless.
Right. So
and
the
like,
unique thing about Hokkaido, and they do that a couple times in future levels, but like this is the first time where you start out with nothing, right? Like you can't even smuggle in your silenced pistol or your like fiber wire. Like you just start out as like a patient with nothing, and you just have to like gather intel and work your way through the level and eventually like, you know, assassinate what you need to do. But like, yeah, Hokkaido is such a special level. Like, and then I immediately jumped into Hitman 2. And even then, I think we have some classics in Hitman 2 as well. Like I enjoyed all the levels, obviously, but like Miami
don't,
was
don't go too far into it. I haven't finished Hitman 2.
Okay.
But like I've played like the first 2 levels, I think. I've played Miami.
So you've played Miami. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, Miami was phenomenal. And then for Connor's sake, I won't go into any of the other levels. But I will say the DLC levels that I'm playing right now, like New York, which is the bank scenario, phenomenal. And I'm currently on, like, at this very moment, I think it's the Maldives. It's like an island resort. And that one's shaping up to be incredible as well. So the DLC absolutely is a must buy, I think.
Yeah, I have to. Yeah. Especially since I don't know that I have it. But the only thing I'm going to penalize the Hitman series for is that Hitman 3 is an Epic Games Store exclusive.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Well, I don't care about that much, but I own Hitman 1 and 2 on Steam.
Oh,
and I cannot transfer that purchase yet over to Epic Games Store. Now, they did do one thing to make that pill a little easier to swallow. If you bought it week 1, you got Hitman 1, just right off the bat.
Okay. Just one?
Just one. But what's even more confusing is that you can go on their website and carry over your progression. So I have my progression from Hitman 1 and 2 and Hitman 3. I have the levels from Hitman 1. I do not have the levels from Hitman 2.
Yeah, that's kind of a mess.
It's just stupid. And I think I'm not entirely sure it's all IOI's fault, because I will say the Epic Games Store has had serious problems getting the functionality that it needs to do certain things. And so I don't know that IOI even has the ability to just give me a code that I could enter and get a game on Epic Games Store. So I'm gonna pin the blame on Epic, mainly because IO Interactive has largely been like slammed for their always online functionality, but that always online functionality, were they allowed to, would have totally mitigated this. You know, this would have been a non-issue if Epic hadn't been lame about it.
Yeah, and I will say, like, even on PS5, like, getting all of your stuff from the previous games was a little bit of a headache, but like,
did you have to go to the website and stuff?
No, I did it all through the PlayStation, but like for Hitman 1, for my levels to carry over, and you know, like I said, I hadn't played them before. It was just like the levels themselves, not my progress, because I had no progress. But like for Hitman 1, I had to actually install the game, start it up, and then I would be able to like redeem like the Hitman 1 levels in Hitman 3. That was the only sort of snag I hit, but like other than that, I got all of Hitman inside of Hitman 3, and it's glorious. And yeah, I'm just so looking forward to starting Hitman 3, because like everything I've heard, it's even better than 1 and 2, which is just awesome to hear. Like, it's already pretty perfect in my eyes. So
yeah, I don't know if I mentioned, they are working on getting a way for me to get Hitman 2. It's just not there yet.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
So I will have it. It's just going to be a few weeks. So and it really was like, a buy a game and then not play it. You know,
yeah. And you know, just to sort of end on another happy note, you know, we've talked about in the past like some of the financial troubles IOI has had.
Oh, it's already made its money back. I saw that.
So like it's already made all of its money back. The development costs have been completely recouped for Hitman 3, which is great, because like people are finally tuning into this phenomenal series.
This is the first game that IO Interactive, the first Hitman game that is entirely self-published, which makes it technically an indie game.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I will also say, I just wanted to say really quick, the story is like total garbage, but like I don't care at all. Like
I don't remember
here.
a word of the story.
Yeah,
It's
they devoted like a weird amount of time to it. Like I sit through it just cause, but like it's totally there. I'm totally there for like the missions and like the assassinations and stuff like that and the levels.
It's weird because it's not that they can't write a story, because every individual story in the levels, like taken as
those are great.
Those are amazing. But like the overarching story, like
it's like Metal Gear levels of nonsense. It's like, oh, this shadow organization actually controls the world. Oh no, this shadow organization.
Really weird. I will sit here and I will let you say that that's absolute nonsense, but I will not play Hitman 3 before I finish Hitman 2.
Oh no, like yeah, I haven't touched Hitman 3 yet because I wanted to go through the entire series, and I'm totally glad I did. Like
yeah,
like I think if I were to the lowest I would rank a Hitman map is probably the first map in Hitman 1, and you played that, right? Which is just like the house. No, the first map in Hitman 2. I don't even count
that. Yeah, that's just a tutorial.
It's like a tutorial level.
Yeah.
And which sucks because it counts as one of the 6 maps, and it's good for what it is, but it's definitely not as fleshed out as the other maps.
I don't think they charged for that one, because Hitman 1 was released episodic.
Yeah.
And Paris was episode 1. I believe that was just a free demo that everyone got.
What an opener. You know, like how could you like if that was episodic and you come out with Paris and people play that, how could they not immediately want to buy the rest of the episodes?
I do kind of hate that the episodic model failed, because no game could do it better than Hitman, because the episodic model gives you like now every time I beat a level, I have to like make a conscious choice. Like, do I want to play the next level, or do I want to like do this one again with all the new cool stuff I've learned about it? And like that's why I haven't beaten Hitman 2, is because I kept going back to the older levels to.
Yeah, I mean, like, and that's the insane part too about these games. The replay value is just off the charts. You know, like I've had to resist the urge to go back and replay levels, like as I've been going this year. And you know, I have replayed a couple levels. It's just like each level can be played dozens of completely different ways, and it's just sort of shocking that that's how dynamic the game really is.
Is it Hitman 1 or 2 that has the neighborhood?
Hitman 2.
Yeah, that level?
Yeah, that was great.
That's just so...
There's
just so many options, and there's so much going on that, like, at a glance seems totally unrelated, but, like, you can still totally use it to your advantage. Like, the dude running for mayor, that's not a part of, like...
Yeah. I will say that they're, like, the only sort of nitpick would be, like, there have been more, like, U.S. environments than any other country.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to see more exotic places. Like we got this. I mean, don't get me wrong. The U.S. maps were all great. We had like Colorado in the first game with like the militia camp.
And I actually don't love Colorado. I take it back. It was That's my least favorite map in the first one. Yeah.
Colorado was just okay. And then we had Wilton Creek and Hitman 2. And then the Hitman 2 DLC is a bank in New York. So that's 3 USA maps.
See, I don't really care. I'll give you that Hokkaido is like uniquely interesting as outside of the U.S. But like Miami, for instance.
Like, if that Miami as well. Forgot about that.
Miami could have been in Italy, you know, like there's a racing scene there and stuff, and it could have been like exactly the same. Like,
yeah, I mean, I guess it's more the concept of like racing stadium, you know, like the set piece is the level itself, right?
Like, yeah, the country it takes place in, and I feel that way about the bank too. I don't really care what country the bank is in, you know, or what city.
That's true. Like for things like a bank or like a racing stadium, it could be anywhere, but like it's things like, you know, when you have Mumbai and you're actually on the streets of India, or you're like, you know, Sapienza, and you're like in that beautiful like Italian sort of vista.
Oh yeah.
So like I do think the location, depending on what they do, does have an impact, you know, and I would like, yeah.
Sapienza's so big too.
Yeah. Like some of the size of some of these levels is just mind-boggling when you consider that like it's that big and it's like that complex, right? Because like it's never just big with empty space. If it's big, there's like an interlocking web of things happening in that space.
Dude, Amit, I'm gonna tell you right now, you need to go back and play Hitman Blood Money sometime.
Really? Okay.
Because it is just, it's a little convoluted compared to the new games. It's not as straightforward a lot of ways, but and it's harder. You get rewarded for different stuff. Like I don't think you get a reward in the new games, but like Hitman Blood Money, to get like the full completion for the level, you have to go and get your suit back, and you have to leave the level in the clothes you came in with.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. So like It's just another thing you're keeping track of. And it also, you don't have that vision that tells you who your targets are. So you can go into a level and not immediately know which person you need to kill. And you have to figure that out.
That's really cool.
It gives you like a picture of them at the beginning. But yeah, you have to be able to find them with these PS2 era graphics or PS3, I forget. They're not good. And so that's another complication. But even with that like limited tool set and stuff, they're able to create these levels that are exactly as good as the new ones, in my opinion. They're smaller scale, but like the level that's a standout in Blood Money for me is there's a play going on, and one of the actors is somebody you have to kill, and like while they're on stage, like it's intense. It's so good.
These games are so special. I'm kind of shocked that I'm finally just now getting into them in 2021, but like better late than never, I guess.
Hitman Blood Money is extremely cheap on Steam sales too, so like you should pick it up. It's super good.
Yeah, if I'm thirsting for more Hitman after this, which I probably will be, I'll definitely look into it.
And I would get it on PC because the increase in resolution and frame rate, super nice. Playing it in 4K and everything.
And another wonderful thing about Hitman on PS5, it is 60 frames per second, which is great.
Yeah, it needs it because those worlds are glorious. Yeah.
One last comment I want to make. Something I didn't expect. Those games are really funny. Like the dialogue is
very dark humor.
Funny.
Yeah.
Like
have you?
There's some dialogue in the bank level that cracked me up. Do you care if I spoil it, or do you want to?
No, go for it.
No, so like you go up to open an account, and he's like, "Okay, what's the name, sir? Mr. Reaper, right?"
Yeah.
And then he's just like, "What business are you in?" And it's like, "I'm in the retirement business." It's like, "Oh, so you just like us here at the bank, like," and then like, like just really witty, dry humor like that. Like but
I love the weird skill sets that he has. Like there's a level, I think, I forget which one it was, but you're trying to kill a guy in a band, and you can impersonate his drummer, and like I sat down at the drums and I was like, what's gonna happen here? And 47 he's amazing at the drums. He can play a drum set.
He's a very talented and funny individual. Yeah, and I also think it's hilarious. Everyone's always commenting on like how good he looks. Yeah. Like everyone, like just casually, like girls and guys alike are always just like, "Wow, you look amazing." It's like people don't usually do that like in normal conversation on the streets, but okay. I love Hitman. It's great.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Mike.
All right, so after that long Hitman talk, I'm going to talk about... I got back into Ark.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it was a regretful decision.
How do you feel about Vin Diesel making an Ark game?
I don't like it.
I don't like it at all.
Dude, apparently he's like super invested in Ark. Like he's legitimately like into it for some reason.
Really? That's a super Vin Diesel thing.
Yeah, that's like not a joke. Like that's why he's involved,
I feel a little indifferent about Ark because Ark has a lot of problems they never fixed. And problems that they did fix, they end up breaking something else in another mode.
Could you pitch Ark to me? Because I don't even know what it is. Like, it's got dinosaurs, right? Like that.
Yeah, that's all I know.
More than dinosaurs now. It's a survival game set in this wacky alien world, basically.
And it's like
dinosaurs and crap.
It's online, right? Like a MMO, kind of.
Kind of an MMO.
Yeah.
Server based. But it originally just started as this survival game of dinosaurs on like an island, and now it's evolved into this weird mismatch of fantasy creatures, dinosaurs,
okay,
just aliens, robot dinosaurs. There's all an explanation for this, I promise, but it's hard to explain.
That'll take Kojima levels of galaxy brain to tie together.
Yeah, I might just have to watch a review video because I just don't get it.
Adding stuff in DLC, which the DLC is expensive, so I haven't played it. But I can't pitch it. It's hard to pitch.
I get it confused with Turok a lot just because of the dinosaurs.
That's just the dinosaurs. There's no similarity between the two though.
Okay.
Like right now, we figured out that we could put images from outside the game into paintings and flags in game. So we have the power to do whatever we want.
Yeah, I'm sure you're using that power for good.
Yes, I promise. It's for good. We totally don't have some lewd images somewhere in this base for some people to find.
Well, that's good to know.
You can also paint dinos, so we also have a dinosaur painted.
Nice. Can you ride the dinosaurs?
Yes, you can ride the dinosaurs.
Okay,
How would
that's
you be able to
pretty
ride
good.
the dinosaurs?
I don't know. Sometimes they forget the easy stuff.
Like I'm literally looking at a robot stegosaurus right now.
Nice.
Because game is weird. Although my problems with it mostly stem from like them nerfing things or them attempting to fix things for PvP and then breaking it for PvE, or vice versa. Maybe they'll learn for the sequel, but probably not. They also don't, if you're gonna play Ark, don't play on default servers ever.
That's just good advice in general.
Because default servers have, when I started playing, there were 1 times harvest rate, which means you could spend 100 hours into the game, roughly, and not even begin to touch endgame if you're playing solo.
Wow.
And say taming some dinosaurs was a 16-hour adventure. Like you had
Sounds
to sit
very
and watch it for 16 hours.
It sounds like something out of an MMO.
Yeah. But they recently, I think on defaults, they raised their rates to 2 times, and I'm playing on a 5 times server, which means everything that matters is 5 times faster. So if I cut down a tree, I get 5 times the amount of wood. I get 5 times the experience. Everything tames 5 times as fast. So it's a lot better of a game, and it feels better to play. Instead of I gotta wait 16 hours for this thing to like me, I can just wait a couple minutes. But it's hard to describe. Other than dinosaurs, build base, survive, don't die.
But how do the alien dinosaurs and robot dinosaurs tie into all of this? That's the question.
Well, you are stuck on an alien world. Well, there's things. The Ark is like the titular, like, think of it like a Halo ring almost. I think that's the best way to describe it, as like a Halo ring, where it's just a self-contained world that some aliens threw together and grabbed some stuff from Earth and thought, good enough. It might have been aliens. It might have been other people. I don't know the story that well. But yeah, it's just a bunch of 18th century people who have been brought into this weird world.
Might have to check it out. I don't know. It's something I've like had my eye on just barely for years now, and I've just never picked it up.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
We're still putting effort into it.
You're really selling it, Mike. Not bad.
Not bad. It's not a 0 out of 10 for me.
You can put that on the back of the box.
You know a game's not bad when I don't immediately rail on it.
Like yeah, that's actually true. Yeah.
Like
so not bad.
I just completely railed on.
Not bad out of 10.
Yeah, not bad for Mike is like 8 out of 10, I would say.
No, it's like a 6. I give it.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe an 8 out of 10 on your scale, Ahmed, but a 6 on ours.
It's like a 6. It's not.
Yeah, my scale is definitely more generous than your guys's, but
yeah,
it's not a good game, but it's a game that's.
It's a game. It's not a good game.
I like quite a lot that are a 6.
So yeah, before we round off, I just want to give a shout out to Dunky on YouTube. Check out his Metal Gear Solid recap. If you are at all interested in the plot of Metal Gear Solid, because as absurd the things were that I said today, like, it was all completely accurate, and Donkey sums it all up in a way that's totally absurd, but 100% accurate to the actual
I think
plot.
I've seen that video, and I thought he was just making it up.
No, it is 100% accurate. Like, that video is 100. Like, it sounds like gibberish, but like that truly is the plot to Metal Gear Solid.
Wow.
So
yeah,
shout out to that
convoluted. Because Metal Gear Solid 3 goes back in is before the events of Metal Gear Solid 1.
Yes, it's just like you need to have like an AI decode like the entire plot to fully understand it. Yeah. Or you have to just be completely insane. Either one.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's going to do it for us this week. Thank you guys for listening. You can follow us at Ad Podcast Game Talk on Twitter. Please like, rate, and review us on any podcast service you use, and click the link in the description of this podcast to join our Discord and talk to us there. Thanks, Connor and Mike.
Yep. See you guys next week.
Catch you next time. See ya.